Severe weather is always right around the corner, and the National Weather Service just finished up repairs on a crucial tool just in time.
Meteorologist Elisa Raffa shows us why an aging radar network is presenting challenges for those who watch over a growing Queen City.
A tall task to repair a critical tool.
And those radars were designed back in the early 90s as state-of-the-art radars at that time, and they remain to this day state-of-the-art radars. They're the best there is.
It's the most important instrument at the National Weather Service office in Greenville, Spartanburg.
That's our primary tool for detecting severe weather.
That meteorologist missed while it was out of commission for the first month of the new year. Dr. Bill Martin is the Science Operations Officer.
The main part of the antenna that's under the dome is a 30-foot diameter dish, and it rotates around as it scans for the atmosphere for weather.
He explains the bull ring is the piece that broke.
And the main gear that drives that wore out after 27 years of spinning that radar.
Workers lift the 4,000-pound radar dome to replace the spinning gear and its 10,000-pound pedestal. Like an old car,
we do regular maintenance on our radar, just like you would do on your car, but eventually parts need to be replaced.
Warning coordination meteorologist Trisha Palmer compares this fix to your transmission failing.
Maybe it's a cheaper part, maybe it's a more expensive part. Well, this time around, it's a more expensive part.
The maintenance comes right on cue. A recent $135 million investment by government agencies is expected to keep our radars spinning through 2040.
We've done different phases of this. Some of the phases have been more electronic in nature, and some have been more mechanical in nature.
The Service Life Extension Program aims to be proactive, not reactive, as radar parts designed to last 25 years get to the end of their lifespan.
We can't have parts failing for the next rad network. We just can't do that.
The network includes 160 radars across 50 states and U.S. territories.
Once the weather event hit your neighbor down the road, it was just kind of spreading the news, and there really wasn't much advance notice.
That transformed the way we warn for tornadoes from word of mouth to cell phone alerts at your fingertips.
The NextRad radar significantly improved warning lead times, especially for tornadoes and flash flooding. It improved those lead times by up to 70% from what they were before.
Jessica Schultz leads the Radar Operations Center out of Norman, Oklahoma. While her team was a part of the deployment in the 1990s,
the military was using radar very strongly in World War II to detect enemy aircraft.
The technology's history goes back much farther than that.
But what they noticed is that they could also detect weather. And of course, they weren't really looking for weather. They wanted to filter that signal out. But following World War II, the military donated several radars to the precursor to the National Weather Service.
This led to an explosion in weather research. Some of the first radars in the 1950s could detect raindrops and even the eyes of hurricanes. Here's a look at Carla in 1962. Color displays in the 1970s, and mobile radars led to growing interest in severe weather.
And so back then, we didn't have the capability to detect wind speed and direction. All you saw was a return from clouds, so all you saw was precipitation.
Tornado detection was the new frontier of weather, and the 88D radar was a game changer. D stands for Dopplers, radars that now let meteorologists detect rotation.
That was a major improvement for the Weather Service.
Air moving very fast towards the radar, right next to air moving very fast away from the radar, spinning like a top.
Now, of course, as we're used to, we can detect tornadoes and hurricanes and downbursts, all types of severe weather that we previously couldn't detect with those older radars.
This is an early Doppler tornado signature at the height of severe weather season in 1981.
The Doppler radars were deployed nationwide in the 1990s to modernize technology and save more lives. They were strategically placed near cities that are prone to tornadoes, increased the warning time by more than 15 minutes, and reduced fatalities by more than 45%. But there is a limitation: distance. The farther you are away from the radar, the harder it is to see tornadoes spinning on the ground. The radar beams go out in a straight line, but at some point in that line, the Earth starts to show its curves.
The Earth is curving downward away from you. So the further away you are from the radar, the further above the ground you're seeing.
Radar scans from Greenville-Spartanburg cannot see Charlotte much below 7,000 feet, but tornadoes spin up under 4,000 feet.
This is a limitation. So the further away from the radar, you can't see as close to the ground. And since tornadoes are a ground phenomenon, you would like to see as close to the ground as you could.
Charlotte is the largest city with the biggest distance away from the radar, sitting 94 miles from the primary scan in Greenville-Spartanburg.
Even though we were excited about the new technology and how good it looked on the air and how much more we could see, we were all very worried about the placement.
Leaving a blind spot between the Queen City and the Piedmont Triad, home to almost 3 million people.
There's 4 radars that cover eastern North Carolina very well. West of Raleigh in North Carolina, no radars.
No other city of Charlotte's size has a radar more than 55 miles away, and that leaves meteorologists like Van Denton concerned.
Where we're seeing this rotation at this moment.
Denton is a familiar face in the Carolinas, on air at Fox 8 in the Piedmont Triad for more than 30 years. His concerns over the radar's blind spot grew after an EF2 tornado struck Harrisburg.
In March of 2012, there was a tornado in the Charlotte metro that went unwarned. It damaged homes. It could have killed people.
The tornado spun off a squall line, a type of rotation that can be hard to detect in the Carolinas. In the National Weather Service report, there is a mention that neither radar could scan below 8,000 feet in Mecklenburg County and could not detect any rotation in the lower parts of the storm.
There was no warning for that. And I just don't want to ever see that happen again.
Denton organized a group of concerned broadcast meteorologists, and they got to work contacting lawmakers for help.
But their solution was, honestly, as we said, a Band-Aid on a big wound. It needed a bigger solution than that.
The Metropolitan Weather Hazards Protection Act of 2015 was signed into law by President Trump in 2017.
Well, they tilt the beam. That does bring it down some, but it did not solve it completely.
It stated improvements must be made, but not how.
It also did not improve the clarity of the picture. It did not improve the resolution because the beam, as you go farther away, still deteriorates. Think of a flashlight. If you got that beam right there at the wall, it's really bright, but if you back across, it's a lot less intense.
Denton and his team continued to press for better solutions. They proposed a plan that included one big radar or a combination of some smaller ones that could better help cover the gap, decrease false alarms, and enhance communication. The National Weather Service maintains Charlotte gets covered with enough confidence to warn for tornadoes.
They're designed differently than our radars, the NextRad radar. Still, they're close enough to the NextRad radar that they can still see a lot of weather.
The FAA installed a smaller cousin to the radar that has 1/3 of the range at Charlotte Douglas International Airport in 2013.
And because they're right there in Charlotte, they see really close to the ground near Charlotte, which is really valuable.
One thing that's undeniable, after 30 years of service, the life these repairs provide for the next 20 years is unlike any other.
The Weather Service in the United States has better radars than any other country, and more of them than any other country.
Big or small, radars have revolutionized the way we warn for tornadoes, communicate risk, and enhance our ability as meteorologists to save lives and protect property.
They're a valuable tool, and we love them to death.
Meteorologist Elisa Raffa, Queen City News.